Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today on the podcast, I'm so excited that I have two special guests, and their names are Amanda Morris and Charlotte Lucas. And they are both here to talk to me today about working in the veterinary profession during this time of COVID. And I'm trying to get a few small groups together to discuss this because I think we've all been doing this for a while and we're getting a little stressed out. So welcome to the podcast, ladies.
Thank you.
Hi.
Nice to
Thanks
have
for
you.
having us.
Yeah, I'm so happy you're here. So I'm going to pick on Amanda first, I think. So Amanda, could you just introduce yourself to the audience, let them know what you do and your perspective and what you do with the profession?
Sure. I'm an LVT. I have been an LVT since 2007, and I worked day practice, general practice for 5 or 6 years, and then kind of overlapped and started ER medicine, which I love. I started that in 2010 and then went to exclusively ER practice in 2012 and have been doing that ever since. So I'm seeing things kind of from the ER perspective. We don't have appointments. We've been doing curbside work, and we've been kind of taking the overflow from the day practices. Haven't been able to see everybody. So dealing with staffing issues, dealing with heavy traffic, having upwards of 8 to 10 hour wait times at some points at our busiest points, and just trying to power through some crazy times.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I know we send a lot of people to the ER right now from my general practice.
Mm-hmm.
So how about you, Charlotte? Can you tell us a little bit about your practice? Because you have your own practice.
Yes. Yep. I have my own practice. I'm a solo practitioner. I'm up in West Branch, so northern Michigan, and we have a small team. And I have been practicing. I opened my practice in. This will be coming our 4th year in January. So whatever year that made that. So it's 2017 we opened, and I've had remained a small team. Our client base is growing, and so our biggest challenge before COVID, and then that's been enhanced by COVID, is keeping up with the growth. That's been,
because you're the only doctor.
Yes, I'm the only doctor.
I can imagine that's got to be tough.
Yeah.
Welcome to ownership, right? You've only owned for 3 years and then you get COVID.
Right. I know there's been some, perks to having a small team, but then challenges as well. So.
I can imagine. Yeah, that's got to be crazy. Well, and just so you both know, I have my practice in Warren, Michigan. And so I've been there many years. But we did the same thing with the curbside at the beginning of COVID. And kind of from a practical standpoint, when it first struck, we split into 2 teams because we had 4 doctors. So we put 2 doctors 3 days a week and the other 2 3 days a week, and then split the team down the middle. So we could kind of have 2 teams in case, one of them got COVID and we had to keep people home, to quarantine. And we did that for quite a while, about 3 months, I think. And then we finally started mixing the teams back up and, kind of remixed, but it hasn't gotten any slower. At the very beginning, obviously we couldn't see much because our state kind of had us locked down. But once that started opening back up, it just seems like we've gotten busier and busier and busier. And I think that's the way it is all over the nation. Is that the experience that you're having with your small practice? It's just
definitely
up.
Yep. And we started curbside almost right away as well. And it was funny. When all this first started, you do a lot of investigating what other people are doing, what's working for them. And so the team thing obviously came up. So I go home one night and I'm thinking about how I am going to split my team up into teams. And I come to the realization, I'm like, there's only one of me. So
wait a minute, I can't do that.
So it was impossible. So we just, kind of did. And I said, okay, so we have to really do everything we can to keep each other safe. Being up north, we were, lucky at first because we were not seeing the cases. So we were in a bit of a bubble as far as that goes, which that has now gone away. And we thought with summer, people traveling, coming up north, that we would see more cases through the summer, and we didn't. And so now I feel like now the past month or so, it's really started to more of affect us as far as clients go. It's more of a reality for them.
Have you had any cases in your hospital yet? Anybody get COVID?
I'll knock on wood. No.
Okay.
I have had one of my LVTs she had to be home. Her daughter was exposed, so she had to be home the past 2 weeks for that. So that was my challenge, a small team that's already been working, extra, and then basically asking them to work even more to keep up with the slack. And
right.
when we sat down to discuss it as a team, we all kind of came to the conclusion, well, this could be any one of us. It very well maybe any one of us. So let's just do what we have to do to keep us going through it. And that's been their mentality from the beginning.
And what about you, Amanda? How's your practice been handling it?
Oh man. Because we're a 24-hour practice, and we kind of started off before COVID as a little bit short staffed, just because it's hard to find people that are willing to work the crazy hours that those of us that are the suckers that truly
Do you
love
work
our
like
job.
the midnight shift? What do you work?
I work second shift, but I work 3/12. So I work 4 p.m. to 4 a.m. 3 days a week,
Okay.
and I work the weekends. So I work Saturday, Sunday, Monday for those hours.
Okay.
And I'll be honest, that typically it starts off as a scheduled 12-hour, and it ends up being about 15 by the end of it all, because you can't just walk away and
right.
all that good stuff. And so we started off short staffed, and then of course, again, rotating through different people having to self quarantine. We had our first case of a team member testing positive, and that wiped out almost all of our day staff
they
because
were all exposed.
they were all exposed, so they had to go home and await test results and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the night crew because we have we're split that way, so we were able to stay open, and then we just had a true skeleton crew in the daytime. But it's been challenging, and constantly, again, having cycled through different staff members having to stay home because they were exposed. We were lucky that we've only had one true positive case, but it's hard, and you feel guilty when you're the one that's stuck at home. I've been stuck at home because my kids have been in school learning. So of course one of them got exposed at school. And so then you sit at home and you're watching your teammates drown and get overwhelmed and face burnout and fatigue, and you're sitting at home like, I wish I could help you. I'm not doing anything. I want to be there.
So not only do we have the stress to deal with, the stress and the burnout that it's causing, but now we have guilt.
Yeah. I mean, you absolutely, I guess to me, I'm a team player. And so I want to be able to help my team, and I want us all to succeed together. And when I see my teammates struggling, my natural instinct is I want to help you. I want to build, build you back up, pull you up. And I can't do that from home if I can't go in. And so that's really hard to watch everybody else just, drowning and dying and knowing that you've got to sit the bench.
Yeah. So that's happened once for you, where you had to stay home for like 2 weeks, was it?
Yep.
Okay. Ugh. Yeah. So how do you feel that your team's doing overall? I would say from the standpoint of the adaptation, like we had to adapt the way we practice medicine. And it was fast. It was like one day we were normal and the next day we were shut down. So how do you think that your teams manage that overall, that change?
My team's been fabulous. And especially at the beginning, we were, like you said, right away and almost daily changing and adapting. And there were so many rules and regulations changing. And from the moment it was whatever you need us to do, whatever we're going to do, I was very focused on, I wanted them to feel safe. So whatever we had to do to allow them to feel safe so they could do their job. They have been great with fielding the questions, that were coming from clients. And so I was very grateful for that. The adapting to doing curbside that seemed to, really go pretty smoothly. Definitely we've had some hiccups. And then when we've tried to improve things, change protocol a little bit to improve it, it inevitably made it worse, a few times. So it's,
Every time you try something new, it
yeah,
backfires.
Yep. And then, to throw a bigger wrench in things, I went on maternity leave in July, and one of
Oh,
my
no.
technicians went on, we had babies
Good
a week
babies.
apart.
Oh,
Hmm.
well, that's something we need to talk about is raising
So,
babies, huh?
yeah.
Wow. I didn't
So
know that. Congratulations.
thank you. And so talk about the guilt that Amanda was talking about. I
Yeah.
mean, it was hard. And I mean, kudos to the team. They did it. What we did is we scaled back a lot, which caused them to just have to turn away things that we normally wouldn't. And that was a big adaptation for them, because we want, especially as a new practice, you're not used to saying no to anybody.
Right,
We
right.
want to see everybody. So we had to, because I physically had to, and we had to because I wasn't there. My relief doctor was there 3 days a week, but so to keep up with it all. So those were our, and then it was playing catch up when I got back to work too. So we may now maybe just be feeling like we're kind of caught up with things. And
Yeah.
now I think what they're feeling is they're tired. I had a conversation with my CSRs, and she's like, I'm just tired of it all. And clients are tired, and and so to keep up with the level of care and to keep up with our culture that's so important to us, that's the draining part. I think the draining part at this point is dealing with everyone's just fatigue of it all.
Yeah. Are you seeing that too, Amanda? Or do your people seem like they're just worn out from it all and over it?
Yeah. The nice thing about emergency medicine and the people that are working at an emergency hospital, we're kind of used to rolling with punches, because we never know what's going to walk in the door at any given time. And
Right.
you could have hours of dead space, or you could have put your roller skates on. You're not going to get to use the bathroom today.
You
And
guys are
you
used
don't
to
know.
that.
Yeah. You just don't know what you're going to get. So for some of that stuff, like, we're naturally kind of able to adapt and kind of roll with it. But all the other vet hospitals, like the general practices, all closed down. And we didn't. We were considered essential because we were emergency. So even when everybody else was
At the
gone,
beginning.
right, we were still
Okay.
picking up the slack at that point too.
Right.
So, we had the calls of our normal stuff where we're normally busy, as far as, oh, I got hit by a car, or, oh, it's really sick, or, oh, this, that, or the other thing. And then we added on chronic ear infections and anal glands and broken nails. And, I was grooming my dog at home because nobody will take it, and I cut half its ear off. And
yeah, we had somebody cut their dog's tail off.
Yep. So it's like
Piece
you
of it. I was
go
like,
from the normal, like, okay, these are some of our crazy cases, to like,
Right.
I didn't sign up to do ear infections. That's not why I'm
Right.
in
Yeah,
emergency
that's why I went into emergency, right?
right. I didn't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
So that part of things gets to be, a little crazy. And now we still have day practices that are overwhelmed from trying to catch up. So they're still turfing things, and we're still seeing chronic vomiting cases and skin allergy cases. And I work at the only emergency hospital that sees exotics. So we're seeing,
yeah, there's a lot of that.
and so we're seeing, the guinea pig that's got the upper respiratory infection, who the daytime vet can't get in, and there's nowhere else that'll see a guinea pig. So here we are. And so, I mean, we then get people in the parking lot that they're panicked because it's an emergency to them. And we get people that it's not an emergency, and they know it's not an emergency, but if they went to their regular vet, they have a 20-minute appointment spot. So why should they have to wait? And then we get all of that mixed together. So I get the phone calls of, I just saw 3 people go in ahead of me, and I've been here for, 2.5 hours. And why is that happening? And we try to explain that we triage and that kind of thing, but it's a very different atmosphere than what they're used to with their regular vet. And so if they're coming to see us, there's a lot more of a learning curve for the clients, as far as what what changes with emergency medicine versus the appointment that you had at your regular vet to go see them.
Well, and I'm finding too that a lot of the clients don't want to go to emergency. They want to get into their regular vet. They'll
Yeah.
say, well, I don't want to go to emergency. I want to see your vet. You know,
Right.
I want to see Dr. Cappel. And
Yes.
my staff will say she is like solidly double booked, because I've been double booking because we lost one of our doctors, and it's just like, so I've been working double columns and still being packed every day. And then having to send, you know, obviously things that we wouldn't normally send to emergency, and people get very, very frustrated about that.
Yes.
You know, they're like, well, why, you always saw me before, why can't you see me now? And they get angry, and you know, so that's a big thing too. So do you have kids at home, Amanda? Do you have
I
any
have 4
children?
kids
Oh
actually.
Lord.
And I have a big gap.
Oh.
So I have a 15-year-old in high school who's doing virtual learning right now because they just, you know, they're in the middle of that shutdown. I have an 8th grader who's doing in-person class. And then I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old who we just put down for a nap before I started this. So that's why
You
it's
have a
quiet.
baby too.
Yep.
So you had a baby right before all this started.
Yeah.
Wow. So how's that been? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the mom side of it. My kids are grown. So the thing for me with COVID is they just lost their jobs. And
Right.
so they've been out of work, you know, pretty much this whole time. They've been working, but not at their chosen profession. And that's been stressful for them. You know, it's depressing. And so how's it been to have kids at home, especially that wide of a range, and homeschooling and all that?
This year has been a little bit easier as the school year as far as that goes, because I think the teachers had a chance to get a little bit more organized with trying to line everything up and what programs they were going to use and how they were going to run their virtual classrooms. Last year was a disaster. I will be really honest. It was so stressful. The days that I was off of work, and because I work the kind of almost the overnight shift, I would have to get 2 or 3 hours of sleep and then wake up to get the kids going for school on the computers, sit with them, help them organize their, you know, their lessons. And the teachers weren't really sure what they were doing. So they would just dump a week's worth of lessons. And then we were kind of having to teach at home.
Wow.
So, you know, trying to remember stuff from high school and just, you know, like that was a while ago. So that's a lot.
That's crazy.
And you're doing it tired, and then you've got the kids running around. So it's like, okay, we need to have a walled off space. They can't be in here. They have to be, and then taking turns with the kids. And so it was like just a super stressful thing. So stress from work leads to stress at home, leads to like no relief anywhere. And so it was hard. This year it's been, like I said, a little bit better because it's a little bit more organized, and the teachers are a little bit more prepared. So they've got things kind of better under control that way. So my son has, you know, designated hours that he's doing live streaming classes, and they're doing the homework together in class and that kind of thing. So that's more self-contained. And the little guys they're always running around. So that's not anything new. But it's been a challenge.
That sounds challenging. So what happened with the baby then, Charlotte? Like you had a baby in the middle of all this.
Yeah. And
How did that go?
it went, I mean, smoothly,
Really?
you know, to be honest. My husband's a teacher. So really throughout all of this, having your partner be a teacher has been kind of, you know, like that was a good profession for him
Kind
to
of
be
ideal.
in. Yeah. Yep. And our oldest is in 2nd grade this year. So he was able to be home with them from the beginning, dealing with all the teacher stuff, and last year the unknown. And then with the baby, I mean, the biggest change, I'm glad it was my first, you know, so you just aren't as nervous about things in general. But it did change, you know, I mean, it changed how often I went to the doctor. I did virtual visits, you know, with my OBGYN. And then and then when we had her, only my husband was able to be with me. And, you know, so no visitors. And then probably it really started to hit me, I would say probably about a month before she was born. She was born in July. So about the month of June, I really started to be like, oh, like I can't get sick now because if I get sick now, at that time they were like taking babies away if from mothers if they were
No,
positive.
really?
I mean, in some
Oh,
states,
Lord.
yeah, or they weren't
Can't
letting, like
even
mothers
imagine.
were delivering completely alone, like their partner couldn't even be with them, and so
Yeah, I heard stories like that, but you
mhm,
got to have your husband with you.
yeah,
I
yep,
can't even imagine that.
no, I know,
I
I,
can't
and
even. Hey,
um, and
I'm sorry, there's a landscaping guy here. So if
oh,
you hear
he's
noise and my
sorry.
dog growling, that's why. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
That's the beauty of having dogs and
Exactly. Yeah.
being in a
No,
home.
no secrets.
Sorry about that. But it went well, you're saying, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it really went very smoothly, and it was just a lot. I mean, uh, family members didn't see her, I mean, that, and still
Yeah, that would be hard,
haven't seen her.
really.
So, I think for the first 4 weeks, she just thought everyone had their faces, covered with something.
Yeah, you
And
wonder what these kids are what are they thinking,
right. I know. So, and just, so it made me more, I think, acutely aware. But it really also, as far as work went, when we did have some backlash about, especially when people started to open back up more and we were still doing curbside, like, and some backlash from clients, and we just explained, like, hey, we have two pregnant people, and then we had two new moms and babies, and
Right.
we're doing everything we can, and people were very
They
understanding
were
about
more
that.
understanding when they knew
Hmm.
the circumstance.
Right, right.
So, what advice do the two of you have for parents that are going through this right now? Because obviously, we've been through a lot and we've learned a lot, but we're still going to be dealing with this for a while.
Hmm.
Do you have like little mental tips or tricks that you use to kind of get through the real crazy part? Because I'm sure that there's some fear that your kids are going to get sick, or, are you more afraid that your kids are going to get sick, or what kind of things do you think about as a mother with young children?
I'm probably mostly afraid of my parents getting sick. I live in the same town as them, so we see them all the time. So that was my fear with, myself, passing it on to them, or my kids. So as far as being fearful of COVID and people getting sick, that was
More the
my more
parents.
concern. Yeah. And as far as balancing it all, it takes a lot of self-care, but like the self-care of truly, like, letting expectations go, of certain things, and taking care of yourself. I mean, there was a point late in my pregnancy where I had to sit down with my team, and I mean, and I was in tears, and I'm like, you guys, something's got to change, because I can't keep up with how we're doing things. And that's when we had okay, we're going to start telling people no,
Mhm.
and
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 that's
I
hard for us as veterinarians,
yeah,
right? Because we
we
don't like that. We don't
know.
like to think that some pet's suffering or some client's suffering because we can't handle it. And I,
Yeah,
I really think that we need to encourage each other to do that, to protect ourselves.
yeah.
I
And
agree with you.
I had to be that example for my team as well, and say, and like, I'm going home and I am, not doing anything, I mean, the dishes are getting done, and I'm going to bed at 8:30 because I'm
There's
exhausted.
dust.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
so what do you need to do? Like, that's what I need to do, but what do you need to do? But I also needed to get outside and, move my body, so, so I could feel healthy that way, and be in the sunshine. So constantly being aware of what I really need to keep myself going, and then trying to remind the people that surround me, whether it's at work or at home, what do we need to do to really take care of ourselves? Because if we don't, it will be impossible to maintain
Then you can't
anything.
help anyone, right?
Right,
Like,
right.
that's what I keep reminding my people. It's like, okay, we can only do what we can do, take care of the ones we can take care of, and otherwise then we're down. Like, if we
Mhm,
get sick, or we break down, or mentally or physically, then we're not going to be able to take care of anyone.
mhm,
Then we're not good to our families, we're not good for our kids and our spouses, and can't take care of what's really important.
mhm.
What about you, Amanda? Because you got the whole pile of kids. How did you handle it?
There's been a couple things. Everyone always laughs at me because I have very little boundaries. We joke that it's a swinging open gate in the middle of a field, and that's my boundary.
That's your boundary.
Yeah.
I like
But
that. That's a good
Yeah.
visual.
And that's me. Like, so learning to say no and learning to set a boundary. It's not even just to clients, which again, veterinary wide, we all kind of have that same thing, but sometimes it's your team too. And it got to a point where we were short staffed and everything else. And so I would pick up extra shifts whenever anybody asked or needed coverage. So all of a sudden, instead of going for my 312s, I'm working 512s.
Wow.
And that's a lot.
Especially with 4 kids at home.
Yeah. And then
you must have a really understanding spouse.
Yeah. Well, no. So and I'm ending up going through a divorce with all of this too.
Oh,
so,
no. I'm sorry.
I
shouldn't say I'm sorry. Maybe it's a good thing.
It is what it is.
Could be good, right?
That's one more stressor. But the boundary line, I had to learn that sometimes I have to say no, even to the people I love and to the people that I deeply care about. I have to be able to say, I can't do that. And I'm sorry that I'm not sorry. Like I can't. Yeah. And so there were shifts that I had to start turning down, and I had to leave after staying late for so many hours. Like I can't do 17, 18 hours. I can stay 1 or 2 hours if I need to help tie up loose ends, but then I have to go home. And even with the kids, it's like, you know what? I know that you want to go to this person's house and this and this and this. I can do 1 or 2 of those things. I can't do them all because there's just not enough mom to go around.
Yeah.
And learning that I at least have to shut the swinging gate, even if there's still no fence, that there's at least something there that's allowing me to kind of set something up where I stop and I say, I can't completely overdo it to the point where there's nothing left, because when there's nothing left, just like you said before, I can't help anybody.
Right.
If I'm that down.
And you're out.
So
I might have to move here because this is getting pretty loud. You guys can hear that, can't you?
A little bit. Yep.
All right, hang on a second. Maybe they'll finish up quickly and I can just cut this part out. Otherwise, I'll move to another room. They didn't get the memo that we were podcast. They're actually cutting limbs off trees.
Well, like, that's important. That way they don't fall in the house.
Yeah, it's the neighbor's house, it looks like, but I don't know how long they're going to be at it.
I will say we can't hear him now, but that's been the other thing that, honestly, and that makes me think of it. I was just talking about this today, is letting go of the things that you can't control. And I have a really hard time with that. Yeah. And I have a really hard time with that. I'm very type A. I like to have control over what's going on. I like rules and order and knowing what's going to happen and having that. And so having to learn that there's things that I can't control, and that those are the things I have to let go of. They're going to happen one way or the other. Yep. I can control my response. I can control my actions, but that's about it. Yep. And learning that this year has been a big struggle and a big eye opener as to how very control freak I am. Mm-hmm. But learning that I can't always do that either.
Well, in a lot of ways, that was a big lesson that we learned right when COVID started. I would walk into my hospital in the morning and my receptionist would be in like panic mode. Did you hear the news? And, because they would listen to that news every day. And I would have to literally sit there, and we would have a meeting every morning. And I said, okay, how's everyone feeling? Does anybody feel sick? Is anybody upset? Let's talk about it. What's going on with you? You're like, we're all a little freaked out, because they would be like, well, Dr. Cappel, you seem so calm. I'm like, no, I'm scared too. We don't know what's going on. We're all scared, but this is what we're being dealt. And we're doing everything we can to keep us all safe. And we're trying to do the best we can to keep the business going, because if we don't work, then nobody gets paid. And, so that's all part of it. And just having that discussion that there are things that we can control, and that the way we respond to what's going on and the way we get our information, and, we're all healthy right now in this minute. And so let's just be thankful that we're all healthy, and let's just get through this day. And then, we'll do it all again tomorrow. And that was really hard at the beginning. People were just losing their mind. And then I think we got a little bit used to it. And I think the thing that we're finding now is the clients are getting over it. And we have this whole new, at the beginning of COVID, everybody was all lovey and thank you for being here. And you guys are amazing and you're the heroes and, all of that. And now it's you guys suck. And, so tell me a little bit about that. Like what kind of stories do you have about what clients are doing or saying or, to add to our kettle of stress that we're all in? You guys have any good client?
I mean, we have, just a lot of short, just no patience. And as soon as you tell them you can't, as soon as they hear they can't get exactly what they want, then, then they don't want to listen to anything else. There's been more, I think, the staff really probably more than me has had to deal with kind of that emotional blackmail, from clients.
Like, you want my pet to die? Or
yeah. I mean,
they don't care. Those
right.
Things,
And those were things we really we did not hear very, very much at all before. And so that's been creeping in. So then it's from my end, then I'm taking care of them being like, okay, do we need to talk about this? Do you really feel this way? So that's what I'm dealing with more. And then the, I think when it comes to the pets, it's like one more unknown. When their pet is sick, it's one more unknown in their life that they're dealing with, and they just can't handle it.
And that's what I keep telling my team. I mean, think about where they're coming from, because who knows who in their family's been sick, how many kids they have at home,
right?
Amanda, like how many kids are you homeschooling,
right?
Maybe they're super stressed about that, and now their pet's sick on top of it. And so I think having a little empathy, which is hard when they're yelling at you, but I really think that's a good point, that we have to remember that they're not yelling at us because they're upset with us. They're upset at COVID and shutdowns and not having a job or whatever it is that they're dealing with at home.
Yeah. We found I'd be like, okay, let's listen to some music. We would just try to do little things to just put our brains in a little more positive light, or,
Go out to lunch, order ice cream.
Yeah. We ate a lot of Dairy Queen this summer.
Yeah. Which is not always good, but
I know. Yeah.
At least it's something, right?
Right.
It kind of helps you cope a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Although we try not to buffer away our feelings with food, but sometimes we do.
Yep.
It is what it is. So yeah, I found that too. I think the impatience is what it is. It's like, I want to get in today. Well, what do you mean I can't get in today? Well, what do you mean I can't pick up my food, in 5 minutes?
Right.
And I even had a woman lecture me because this is all fake and you should let me in the building. And she went through this whole diatribe of how, you guys are being stupid for not letting people in the building. Because some of the hospitals in our area did open up and let people in. But because we are a little bit short-staffed, and, I thought, well, we just don't, if we don't have to let the people in there, it's just adding another level of uncertainty and more work, for us to keep things clean and sanitized. And
we don't have the people. I told somebody that about well, why can't I come in? And really, I was glad I ended up having the conversation with them instead of one of my staff members. But I just said, look, because if one of us gets sick, I have to close.
Right. And then we can't help you at all.
We can't be here at all.
Right.
And she was like, oh.
I don't think they think that. I don't think the clients understand that, because I did the same thing. I said that to a client. I said, if I let you in and one of my, you are exposed, or, the 20, 30 other people that came in today, because if we let one in, they're all coming in.
Right.
And so then there's 30, 40, 50 people in the building a day. Then all it takes is one sick one. And then we got to close the whole place, for a couple of weeks. And so that's hard. And then from the emergency standpoint, Amanda, I bet you really see it, because I've had clients yell at us because we had to wait at the emergency clinic for 8 hours.
Oh yeah. But so we're used to having that emotional blackmail part of things. You guys probably get a teeny tiny bit. We get it daily, multiple times a day with the, you're going to let my pet die. How could you do this? Why are you
just
charging
let
so
it
much?
go. Just let it go.
Well, it's stuff that we're used to. So we can develop some like emotional distance from that comment because we've heard it so many times at emergency that one doesn't really get you anymore.
That's where that's another one of those special traits of people that work in the ER, that they can do that.
Because you have to compartmentalize. Like we just had a neonate puppy come in, and it was aspiration pneumonia, and it's a $2,200 bill that I'm presenting. And I firmly believe that if you practice good medicine, money follows. And so I don't mind presenting an estimate for $2,000 if I think that we're practicing
doing the
best
right
medicine,
thing, right?
and we're doing the right thing.
Right.
I have no problem going in there and telling an owner, look, this is how much it's going to cost, because I believe in what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, I recognize that $2,200 is a lot of money. That's 2 mortgage payments in my life. And
especially if they're not working,
and they're not working. And even if you are, and you're a paycheck to paycheck kind of person, that's a lot of money. So I understand that, but we hear it all the time. So it's unfortunately like, sir, ma'am, that's not me that's letting your pet suffer. I'm doing the very best I can to help you. And here we are. Yeah. But we've definitely, because of the wait times being exponentially longer, we've heard a lot of that. I had some guy threaten that he was going to sit in the parking lot, and if I was going to make him wait, then he was going to wait till the end of my shift. And I had gotten to the point where I laughed at him, and I was like, good luck, sir, because I don't even know when that is anymore.
You might be here a couple days, buddy.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, you could be here for days at this point.
Right.
So some of that stuff is comical. We actually, one of our receptionists, they hit her with their car.
What?
Yep.
No.
So there's like legal stuff going on with that.
Holy crap.
Oh my God.
So,
like purposefully ran into somebody with their car.
Yep.
Because they were upset about they had to wait.
How long they had been there waiting. Yep.
Wow.
And so
that's crazy.
That's the kind of stuff where we're just like, are you kidding me right now? And the thing is, you have to have some kind of emotional compartmentalization. And it's like, listen, there's 22 charts in our rack right now that we have to see. We have to triage, which means that if something comes in that's more important than 21 of those things, it jumps to the front of the line.
Right.
And I can only move as fast as I can move. And I only have 2 hands. And we only have so many people here that are going to be able to do everything. Right. And every task that we do requires 2 technicians. You're going to put a catheter in, if you're going to draw blood, if you're going to take x-rays, if you're, all of that requires a minimum of 2 people, depending on the animal, 3, 4. So we'll get to you as fast as we can. I appreciate your patience. Again. I recognize it.
Sorry.
But here we are.
Yeah.
All right. So, give me just a second. Let's see if this guy gets done quickly here.
Oh, I guess the personal interaction that I've struggled with the most with clients is euthanasia. And we see a lot of euthanasias in ER because by the time they get to us, a lot of times they're very, very sick or injured or very old, or they've had cancer and we just can't make it anymore, that kind of thing. So I'm somebody who prides myself and really strives to make it the easiest, best experience that I can for them. I know it's the worst day. They're saying goodbye to their best friend of however many years. So whatever we need to do, however much time you need to say goodbye, whatever I can say to make you feel better. You have those usual platitudes of like, you're making the right decision 100%. You're showing an act of love to your baby, whatever. And right now in our ER, the only time a client's allowed in the building is for euthanasia. And we only allow 2 people in to come say goodbye. I know for me, like in my family, that would be really hard because I have 4 kids that are all attached to a pet on top of myself. Yeah. So how do I get to pick and choose which of my kids would come in and say their last goodbyes, and who's going to be there, and who matters the most, and how do you do that? And then how do you still try to meet the needs of the people that are stuck in the car crying because they can't be in here to say goodbye? And how do you help them find closure and find peace with what they're doing and all of that stuff? And that to me creates that cognitive dissonance, because I feel like I'm not doing euthanasias to the standard that I want them to be for those people, but I'm doing what we have to stay safe. And so that part to me has caused a lot of struggle and a lot of near rule breaking because I'm like, well, what if we just don't count the third person? What if we,
What if we have 3 in? What if it's
right?
what if it's grandma or
and 5 more minutes? Yeah, and what if we, is there any way we can find some other way to? Oh gosh, and just because to me, like that's the hardest part emotionally, where
Right.
I know this is hard. It's hard for us too, and if anybody understands the pet owner bond, it's us.
Because we have so many.
Right. And
How
so,
many how many animals have you euthanized of your own? A lot, right?
right. And can you imagine not being able to be there for it?
No, not at
There's
all.
no way. I would
Right.
absolutely not be able to do that in any
Right.
way. So that's the part where I've really struggled with helping clients deal with the COVID world and our rules and what we have to do.
Yeah. I struggle too with the people that have to use the restroom. Because at the very beginning, the receptionist wanted to let them in, and I'm like, we can't. Because if we're not letting them in the building, we're not letting them in the building.
Yeah.
And in fact, right at the very beginning of COVID, I walked out into the waiting room and she was letting people in, and I was like, absolutely not. They have to go home or go to Kroger down the street or McDonald's, whatever's open, and just not in here. And that's been really hard. Like that. And people get upset, and people,
They do.
you mean I can't even use the bathroom? It's like, nope, sorry. And that's been really tough.
Yeah.
Well, you let one in, and they're all coming.
Yeah, but you feel like guilty because that's like a basic human need. And I know that you've been waiting for 6 hours.
Right. Like what are you supposed to do? Yeah.
Right.
If you can't use the restroom. We literally had somebody pee their pants in our parking lot. And on purpose because she was mad.
Okay.
And she wanted to show us.
We had someone pee on one of our staff members' cars.
Oh my God.
Because he was mad that we wouldn't let him use the bathroom.
Yeah.
So he decided that was the alternative.
That's sad.
And and we've had multiple people. We had one person defecate in the bushes again, angrily. Yep. Because we wouldn't let him in, and he was going to teach us a lesson. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Little does he know it doesn't bother us a bit.
Exactly.
We're used to dealing with gross stuff. We don't care.
Right.
Well, the thing is, though, I'm in vet med because people are gross.
Right.
So,
right. That's true.
Human bodily fluids are a different story.
I'm totally cool with picking up dog poop. I am not so much on the human end.
You want to pick up some guy's poop. That's gross. Oh yeah, it's been an experience for sure.
Yep.
Been an experience for sure. So what can let's kind of try to sum this all up, because I'm really glad you guys told me your stories. I think it's really interesting. The whole children angle, we're all at different stages. I have the adult kids, Amanda has the passel of kids, and you're just starting out with a young baby. But what would your advice be? Like, do you have specific advice that you'd give to another veterinary professional, either a veterinarian or a technician working in the industry right now, is what we can do ongoing to deal with some of the client issues that are happening, and also deal with our own mental health and trying to stay focused on what's important? Do you want to
think a big thing that's become so obvious to me is who I surround myself with, how they influence me, and like when I'm at my lows and really struggling, who I reach out to help, whether it's kind of a reality check, or whether it's like, Charlotte, have you seen the sunshine in, 3 days? Or have you slept? Have you eaten? Have you drank water? Like those basic needs that we're just forgetting because we're constantly worrying about all these other things.
Right.
So having that support group, outside of work, and then even more so at work, I have been so thankful that I have my own practice, and I have that control over who I'm surrounded by at work. And I mean, the flip side of that is that it all falls on me as well, so there's that balancing act. But as far as what veterinary professionals struggle with so much, what Amanda's talked about too as an LVT, and CSRs get this too, is it goes so much of saying no and what we have to do to take care of ourselves and our patients make us innately feel bad. So how do we counter that? What do we have to, like retraining our brain and retraining just how we work to be able to stay healthy through this, you know, mentally healthy, physically healthy, emotionally healthy. And learning those boundaries, like what Amanda has talked about too. Being pregnant through it really forced me to put up a boundary, I think, sooner than what I would have otherwise.
Because you were protecting your baby, not yourself
Yes.
so much.
Yeah. And
You
I
were
was,
so
and
self-sacrificing,
yes.
but you
Yeah.
had to think about your baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There, it just took it to a whole nother level.
Right.
So that's really challenging for so many of us to do. And then, and figuring out the ways, I mean, to not let those angry clients, or, you know, the ones who are acting out like that, you know, having some way to, you know, whether it's I went through a phase where I just was struggling to see anything good. And so at night I was like, what are 3 good things that happened today? You know, and one was like, oh, you know, like just the easiest things sometimes in it, but it retrains your thought pattern to look for the positive right now is been, I think, is a good thing for us all to do.
Yeah. And I think being cautious, I've noticed in my hospital, since we are doing curbside, you know, we're having the pets in, but not the people, is there's a lot of, you know, did you hear this lady? And da, 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed that like level has increased because we don't have to worry about them hearing us. So we complain about them. And so there have been times when I feel that negative energy of us all venting, and I'll just say, all right, guys, you know, let's talk about happy things. And wasn't that lady really nice? And that lady I just talked to on the phone is super. And isn't that, you know, and then we try to change the narrative to a more positive one, because sometimes we do get kind of sucked into that negativity, because that's where we naturally want to go.
We tried to just put out the positive, you know, from the beginning of this album. People were so scared, and I felt everybody was talking about restrictions, what we're not doing. So I was like, we're gonna get out there, we're gonna tell them what we are doing, you know, and that's what we're gonna focus on, because they're gonna hear what we're not doing. So let's just let everybody know what we are doing. And then we did a lot of, especially with the curbside, with the, you know, the pets that come in and they are loving that they're, you know, like that they own the place all of a sudden, or how much more love we're getting because their owner's not there. So we're putting that out there. We're talking about that. We're laughing about that.
Taking pictures. We've been taking a lot more pictures, sending them to the client, you know, that kind of makes them happy, but it also makes us happy, you know, playing with the puppies, letting them run around.
Right.
What about you, Amanda? Do you have advice for people?
I think the surrounding yourself with a good team is so critical. And I have said this for years, but it's so much more true right now, is it doesn't just take a village to raise my kids, it takes a village to raise me. And
that's true.
But you know what I mean? Like, you are going to be kind of who you surround yourself with. So if you're surrounding yourself with happy, upbeat, positive people who are take charge and who are, you know, doing what they can, that's what you're going to be. And if you're surrounding yourself with a bunch of negative energy, people that are just complaining and whining about how bad things are, you're right, you get sucked into that. And one of the really cool things about the team at my hospital, I've been so impressed and so proud to be a part of this group, because everybody's stressed, everybody's tired, everybody's just kind of down and out, but everybody has kind of like banded together that like we're ride or die and we're going to take care of each other. So there have been a couple people who it's their day off, but they heard that the whole crew is drowning. They ordered pizza and had it delivered for the staff that they knew was in the building that day. There's been groups that have bought fun socks and just put it in everybody's locker. Everybody got a new pair of fun socks because they knew it would make somebody smile. Somebody brought in cookies and put them in everybody's locker, just like, hey, you're going to need a little sugar boost. Here you go. There's been people that have tried to organize like COVID safe, friendly things. Like we took a trip to the zoo, you know, so that we could be socially distanced and wear our mask, but have some outside time where we could just all laugh and decompress together. Doing things and bringing snacks in. Somebody made dinner one day in the crock pot and brought that in, and just looking out for each other, taking care of each other, and making sure that we are keeping positive and banding together to lift up the people as somebody burns out. We as a group will bring them back up to where they need to be to keep on functioning. And then the next person's turn, when they burn out, everybody's going to work together and kind of, be as strong as our weakest link and make sure that weak link stays strong too.
Right.
And to me, surrounding yourself with people like that makes all the difference in the world. And I do that in my personal life as well. Who is going to be your support system when you're struggling with all of this stuff? And I know it can be hard because you can't see everybody and hang out and do all the things. Like, you're not going to go to the bar right now and have a beer after work. You can't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But you still have the option of making a phone call or FaceTiming somebody or hopping on a Zoom or whatever to take some time and be with the people you love and that care about you and care about your mental health and your well-being and are willing to be there to listen to your vent, but also to cut it short when it needs to be done and tell you, okay, now what are we going to do?
With the pity party, let's move on, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes
And you need
somebody
a healthy
to tell you
balance
that.
of both.
Right.
You need a healthy balance of both. You have to be able to vent in this field in order to blow off that steam of that angry client or that case that was really sad. You have to be able to talk about it, but you can't wallow in it forever. So I'm somebody, I set a time limit. Like, you get 5 minutes to really complain about this situation. After that 5 minutes, it's over. Now we've got to figure out what we're going to do to move forward and kind of go from there. And that personal boundary, again, I'm not very good at them, but that personal boundary for myself is like, okay, you get to wallow for a couple minutes. Whatever the situation is, it sucks. It's hard. It's terrible.
Right.
Now we need to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think just remembering that everybody who's a human has issues, like you don't, I might see the two of you and say, oh, they got it all figured out. They're doing great. They never go home and cry, and people say that to me. Oh, like, I work a 12-hour day and see double appointments. Oh, you're so good at this, but they don't see me trying to get out of bed the next day and kind of hardly waddling because my legs are sore or my feet are sore. And I think just realizing that we all are on some level struggling just because we're human. And then we've chosen this profession on purpose that we really, really love, but it's difficult. It's not, it's not like slinging burgers, but because we actually have lives at stake and a lot of emotion that we're dealing with the clients, and just realizing that we all have it. And because there's enough of us that understand, and reaching out to others that understand, I think is so important. And that's one of the reasons why I want to do these podcasts is, the month of December, I'm kind of dedicating to, how are we doing and how are we going to, move forward through this next year, still dealing with curbside and COVID and all the things with the clients, getting sick of it too. But just realizing that we're all out there and we can all help each other in some way, no matter what stage of life you're in, no matter how long you've been doing this, whether you've been doing it for a year or, 30 years, it really, we're all kind of in the same boat, and we all struggle on certain days. And that's okay. Like, it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to cry and be upset that you didn't handle yourself in the best way, or, like, I've had clients and I hang up the phone and I'm like, I wasn't very nice right there just then. That was not my best self, if somebody's cranking at me and I get cranky back. So I think just realizing that that's all okay, and not, holding on to it and beating yourself up, and realizing that having those emotions is just human.
Right.
And that's what we need to do. And then reaching out, like you said, Amanda, to somebody. And if you don't have a supportive group of people that you work with, find somebody that can be supportive, like email us or, send us a message and just say, look, I'm struggling with my workplace. I need to talk to somebody. And that's what I do. I coach people. So there's people out there like me that will help. And like the two of you, I'm sure if somebody DM'd you and said, can you just talk to me because I need a listening ear, you would all do so. I want people to know that people like us are out there, and we're all, none of us are doing this perfectly.
Right.
We're all doing the best we can with what we've got.
Yeah. My heart, when I hear of, especially people in the veterinary profession, but especially moms that are, struggling or feel stuck or at a job that they're just not flourishing at, I want to be like, call me, talk, like, we can like, let me help you through this. We can get you through this. And there's another side, and
Yeah.
it still is hard and it still has its
Sure.
challenges, but it can be better.
But what a
So-
great job we have, you know,
Mhm.
like, isn't it amazing?
It's the best.
I know.
It's the best job I can think of. I can't imagine doing anything else. I love to do.
Mhm.
Right.
And I think that that's part of what gets me up in the morning to go to work. Well, I guess in my case, what gets me up at night to go to work.
Yeah.
But and I think that that's the other thing that's made it a struggle for everybody, is that you do love what you do. Nobody goes into this for the money. We all know that. We all say that.
Right.
So it's not like you're getting all these perks. You're in it because you love animals and you love what you do, and you love fostering that human pet bond, and you love doing client education and all that stuff. And so we just have to learn to adapt all of those loves to a new situation.
Right. And
And
focus
remember-
on that.
Yes,
Remember,
and remember that they're still there. They
Yeah.
just look a little bit different.
because you might have one client that's screaming at you, but if you just saw 30 that were super appreciative,
Exactly.
those are the ones you need to focus on and
Yep.
let those screaming memes go, you know,
Right.
'cause
Exactly.
they're
Exactly.
the exception, not the rule.
Yeah.
And remember that you still helped their pet, even if they screamed at you. You still did your job, and you did the best that you could to take care of an animal that needed you.
Right.
So, I mean, even in that situation, yeah, the owner might be the cranky wheel, but I helped their dog today. And so hopefully they'll go home and think about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they probably will at some point.
Mhm.
You know, you got to think about, some of these people are embarrassed after they
Mhm.
yell at us. They go home, and some of them actually call back and apologize.
Yeah, we've had
Yep.
that.
But even if they don't, they might be embarrassed that they acted the way they acted, and
Yeah.
and because they're human, you know,
Mhm.
and they're reacting to their emotions. So is there anything else you guys want to say? I really enjoyed having you. I really appreciate it, and I'm sorry about the lawn guys, but
Okay.
I'll do the best I can to make it listenable. Anything else you want to put out there or say?
I want to thank you for addressing this. I think this is so important for all of us right now to know that we're not alone. Know that we're all going through this. We're all feeling burned out and some compassion fatigue.
Tired. Yeah.
And tired, just and overwhelmed from all of the changes and the amount of cases we're all seeing. But we're not alone, and there is still positivity and sunshine to be had. We just have to kind of look for those silver linings and find them.
Right.
And that makes a big difference. And so I'm really glad that you're focusing on that and focusing on ways to find mental health and stability, even in the midst of all the crazy that we're dealing with. So I want to thank you for highlighting that for everybody to really think about.
I appreciate you saying that, and I really appreciate you both coming on the podcast today and joining me, because, you know, I like to hear everyone's perspective, because, you know, we're all, even though we're dealing with the same profession, we all have our own struggles and different ways of looking at things. So I appreciate you sharing that with the people out there in the world.
Yeah,
So,
this was a really good conversation, and I think people will. It's relatable on every level, you know, for what we're all going through.
yeah.
And I'll echo what Amanda said about we're not alone, and I hope nobody feels that way, you know.
Right. Yeah. I want people to understand that, like, every day.
Mhm.
Every day we're out there, you know, and
Mhm.
willing to help. And even if we're having a bad day, then there's someone else that will help.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Well, good luck with that baby.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, do you have a picture?
She's a good baby. Somewhere.
How about you, Amanda?
I do not actually.
I'm doing
And
a
there's
new
something,
picture.
we're not
Well,
waking
you have a
up, so-
1-year-old. That's a baby. That's still a baby, a 1-year-old.
Give me.
He's very
How
handsome,
do we
but it's all
see
on
it
my
this
phone that I
way?
own.
I don't know how.
Oh, we can't. No.
Can't really
Yeah.
see it. Oh well, you'll show
We're
me.
in the digital world. There's no pictures
I know,
that you have to
yeah.
hold up for you.
I know,
anymore.
right?
The
They're
ones
all on
behind
our
me
phone.
are like 15 years old. So
Well, anyway, good luck with the babies. You both
Thank
have
you.
babies, and
Yeah, thank you.
if you need any mom advice, I've got plenty. I've been through it all. Oh, the teenager years are the worst. The baby years are fun.
yeah.
Yep. I've been doing both at the same time. Boy,
Oh,
oh,
God
boy.
bless you.
Yeah. God bless you for that. All right. Well, thank you so
All right.
much for being
Thank
here.
you,
I really
Julie.
appreciate it. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.